Excuse my voice as I'm a little sick, and I've been outside selling Kids Day newspapers to all the people that pass by. So I was there since 5 to 12:30, no, 11:30, and I've been screaming, yelling, running all day, so my voice is a little gone. It also doesn't really help that I'm already kind of sick, so it didn't help my throat or anything. But I didn't think I should leave you guys without a video. And with this video, I'm gonna try to use Audacity's noise removal function because my laundry machine's on. I don't know if you can hear it, but I don't know if you will be able to hear it. Hopefully not, but it's being really loud in the other room. But in any case, today's video is going to be about both Romulus and Remus, the twin brothers, and one of them the founder of Rome. Romulus and Remus were born to Rhea Silvia on 770 BC. She was a vestal virgin by force, as she was found to be, or to have broken her oath of celibacy, and she would have been sentenced to death by burial. But the king, fearing the wrath of the father, who in many versions is thought to be maybe an unknown man who raped her, the god of war, or Hercules, whatever the case may be, he believed that it was one of the gods that was the father, so he feared angering him. And instead, he imprisoned her, and he sent the kids to a priest who, his job was to float them down the river, the Tiber River, and the priest took pity on them, and instead of just tossing them out and drowning them, leaving them to the elements, he floated them down the river, and he safely floated them down the river. And according to myth, the river god, Tiberius, safely floated them down the river, and he made them so they floated into a fig tree and were caught by it. But the king did this because he thought by letting them be killed by the elements, then he wouldn't have to face the wrath or any of the wrath. So he thought he was safe. And the twins were supposedly discovered by a shepherd who became their adoptive father, and they were raised to be shepherds just like him. So they grew up being shepherds, and according to, again, myth, the king's shepherds came by and started a fight with his father's shepherds, or their other fellow shepherds, who were captured by the king's shepherds, and they were sent to the king. Romulus wouldn't take this lightly, as it was his own twin brother that was captured, and he organized a force of shepherds to revolt and free Remus. The king didn't recognize neither Romulus nor Remus, so when Romulus came to rescue his brother, he wasn't recognized, and in combat, in the midst of all, he was able to murder the king, or slay the king. The citizens afterwards offered Romulus and Remus the offer of citizenship, or not citizenship, the offer of being the new king, and they turned this down as they both wanted to make their own cities. So they left, and Nimitor was crowned king instead, and the brothers went off, but they couldn't decide where to build a city. Romulus wanted to build it on the Palatine Hill, while Remus wanted it on the Aventine Hill. In order to settle this argument, they agreed to consult augury, it's a prophecy where it binds one, or where one is binded to examining birds, where I don't know how it works, but either you watch for the prophecy of the birds. It's either whoever sees the most birds wins, or who sees them first. But Romulus saw 12 birds, and Remus saw 6. This caused a little tension as Romulus claimed that he saw the most, so he was supposed to be the one that chose. But Remus claimed he saw them first, which gave him the power to choose. They couldn't decide it. They kind of went to establish their own cities. Romulus started building walls and trenches around the hill, and Remus would come and mock him. He would make fun of the wall, and he would occasionally jump over it to mock him. Romulus became frustrated, and it depends on what version you really look into, but on one, Romulus killed his brother. On the other one, Remus jumped over the wall, and he landed improperly, which led him to die. And the third version is one of Romulus' citizens became angry at Remus for the mocking and everything, and hit him with a spade at the back of his head. In either case, Romulus buried his brother and gave him full honors. And Remus's death and the foundation of Rome are both dated to April 21st, 753 BC. And he named the city after himself. And he also instated a government used by patricians in the Senate. And as the population grew, so did this system. However, there was a slight problem with the population. A lot of them were mostly made up of men. They were thieves, runaway slaves, criminals, etc. And Rome wasn't able to produce enough offspring. So they organized a festival to try to obtain more women by capturing them. They had a festival with the Latins and the Sabines, where they hold a festival where all the men were distracted, and apparently, once the men were distracted, the people of Rome grabbed the women and ran, and a lot of them were forced or persuaded to marry them, as if not, they would most likely face death. But Rome, because of this, led to both the Latins and the Sabines to declare war on Rome. And there was a girl who offered to raise the gate of Rome if she was given pay or something in return, which she did let them in, but instead of receiving any payment or anything else, she was just crushed to death. And Rome almost capitulated. Rome was close to falling, but according to myth, Romulus prayed to the gods. He prayed to Jupiter to help them win the war. And either by sheer coincidence or just a morale boost, they were able to defend themselves, and this was Rome's first victory, their first triumph. And eventually, after this war, they formed a kingdom where they would rule. It would be a joint reign where there would be multiple kings. It was Romulus was a king, and the Sabine king. I'm really sorry if I mispronounced this, but Tatius as well. And this joint reign of two kings wouldn't really last. as Tatius's actions would cause the dissolution of this joint reign. But while the reign didn't last for 5 years, it was a really peaceful time where a lot of culture, a lot of gods, a lot of military tactics were exchanged. There was plenty of exchange between all of the kingdoms. This led to not a golden era, but a really peaceful and really a time where they really could develop and exchange ideas. And soon, one of the kings, Tatius, was caught. He was caught protecting or hiding some allies who had been robbing and razing, doing other things to the other neighboring cities. And once this was discovered, the Senate decided to send them off. And while he was off in, again, I'm sorry if I mispronounced this, Laurinium, he was sent to sacrifice and appease the locals and the gods for his crimes. However, while he was there, he was assassinated, and Romulus became the single king of Rome. And for the next 20 years, Romulus began to expand Rome through war, where, when Numitor died, Romulus incorporated Alba Longa into Rome's government, and the lands were also incorporated and integrated. And throughout his reign, he began to become more autocratic, more centralizing, and the Senate became more and more resentful as he would try to gain power. However, his reign wouldn't last any longer, and there's a lot of versions of what happened to Romulus. What happened to him? Was he assassinated? Did he disappear? No one really knows. And some say that according to this, there are some eyewitnesses apparently that saw him rise where he would become a god. Some say he was murdered by the Senate. They were tired of him reigning tyrannically or autocratically, and they decided to murder him. Another say he just vanished, he just disappeared. But whatever the case may be, Romulus was now gone, and he disappeared on 717 BC. And there's a lot of debate on whether he was real or not. A lot say he was just a mythical character, but some also say that he is based off a historical figure which founded Rome. There really is no clear definitive action or definitive evidence, but a lot of people think that Romulus wasn't real, but he was based off someone. He was a story. A lot of the myths back then were mixed with both fiction and non-fiction, so it isn't too far-fetched that they over-accentuated some things, or they embellished some things to make it look greater than it was, as a lot of their feats, a lot of things they did aren't really plausible. But whatever the case may be, that was the myth of both Romulus and Remus. I thank you everyone for listening, and like I said in the beginning of the video, I'm sorry for my voice. It's kind of strained as I've been yelling, but if anyone out there bought a Kids Day newspaper, or anyone in California in the Central Valley bought one of those newspapers, then you are an amazing person. And donating things is very kind and very selfless. So I encourage you guys to donate, as I know very well personally that being in a hospital is terrible, and especially being a kid in a hospital. So again, sorry for any mispronunciations of any words.